Hello, and welcome to the Delicious Recipe here on UPRN. Title of the show today is it's the Muffin Time or the Muffin Show. Can't use the Muppet Show because that's trademark copyrighted though. But today I have on there again with me Lorilei. Say hello, Lorilei.
Hello, Lorilei.
Yes. So I got into this topic or thinking about this. I was going through my old show notes over the last sort of 3 years. And then seeing different news that was coming on there, and I was reading through stuff, and I was looking at it, and I saw this other stuff that was coming up on other podcasts and news channels over the past sort of week and this topic came up about how to destroy a country in 10 years, and it's sort of funny because I was looking back on other stuff, and there's actually quite a few points that these were making in some of these shows and I guess you say YouTube videos and that, and you're sort of seeing this sort of stuff happening today, and it's sort of like this slow boiling of the frog, as we always say there, that you never notice that it's over until it's over, and we're sort of, in my opinion, we're sort of getting that way there as well. What do you think there, Laura?
No, I agree with you. I was telling you before the show that I was just having this conversation with somebody because most people don't look at this, and a lot of people are saying, well, how can this happen? Like, why is this happening? Why is this going on? And we'll be careful what we say, obviously, because we're on platforms where we need to be. So we may speak a little bit in code, but I'm sure you'll know what we're talking about. And I've actually said to them, you and I've had many discussions, and it was you that was looking at this. And, it starts out with all kinds of infrastructure and very quietly and very slowly. And if you are somebody or possibly another country and you wish to destabilize, say, one of the superpowers, what do? You start very slowly, very quietly, so that people don't put two and two together, right?
Yep, that's one of the points that's in there. But another one that sort of came here. I've done quite a few times there, talked about this Agenda 2030, and point number 3 on this Agenda 2030 is ensure healthy lives and promote well-being for all at all ages. And the translation of what that basically means is mandate vaccinations for all, medicate behavioral issues, remove parental controls for children so children can decide, right? And you're seeing that now happening there with
So did you get this off of that? Because I might be careful using that term. I don't want to trigger anything on here. But did you get that right off the website?
This was off of one of the 17 agenda goals for 2030.
Okay.
It was and I've talked about this many times. You have to, when you start seeing words like global initiatives, global thinking, sustainability, and inclusiveness, then those should be like red flag words there, that something mischievous is going on there, and like that was like the number 3. Like there's 17 goals that we're going for here to get to ourselves, that these people in power that want to achieve by 2030. Like we have, I know JT and the Sunshine Band, one of the main Muppets here or Muffins here in Canada. He's a proponent for this, and he wants this stuff to happen, right? This deals with environment, green stuff. And this is another topic that also came up. We'll go into this more about this environmental climate initiatives and climate and taxation and inflation. All these things are all part of what this is, and this was all, it got implemented. Was implemented back in the early 2000s, but it actually got really set in motion in 2020. Well, actually, or 2010, and now it's sort of, the switch came on. Remember that Klaus Schwab thing there about the Great Reset, and that part that went on there with the Economic Forum, and that's dealing with global banking, globalization, and stuff like that, and how to get countries together. And if I go into another one here, I got these all over. I was opening up stuff all over the place here, and What was the one here? Was it over
Well,
here?
you're looking. So, well, there's quite a few things that have happened if you're going to go from that. Let's just not keep repeating that term. Maybe we know what we're talking about. Um, just so we don't trigger anything, maybe, even though it is out there. It's not misinformation, but it is out there.
Right.
Um, but yeah, they start with many, many things, and we're seeing a lot of that coming into play right now. And but the thing is, there's still many people that believe, right, that document doesn't exist. So how about we just call it the document 2030?
Sure. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. But I'll go. I'll list off a bunch of these that ones that I found anyways, and there's a lot more of these, and then we can go into a lot more of these things in depth. So, how do you destroy a country in 10 years was one of the topics that it was, but could be sooner, could be later, could be longer than that. So they
Mm-hmm.
had stuff like this was dealing with reproductive freedoms, and then we've had these sort of debates many times there in other countries about pro or con of abortion rates and stuff like that. And that's still a big issue even in the States. Voting, putting the wrong people in power. And that goes into a big thing with the Soros and the OSF, right? They sponsor a lot of these, give government grants to groups and people to put people in power to support their issues for this new democratic change, this social change that they want, right? And we're seeing this happen already. We've seen this in Canada, seen it happen in the States with the different BLM Antifa groups, whatever you want to say. Here in Canada, same thing, Human Rights Commission, and just the laws that have sort of come through here, bringing sexual issues into conflict. Well, that's the big one that's been going on. Make people dependent on the government. Perpetual warfare. Maybe you have like the war on the COVID, war on drugs, war with other countries. Devalue the dollar. That's dealing with central bank and inflation. Government bailouts for corporations. That's giving tax money out to them instead of helping out the people and stuff like that. There are foreign interests that are in here.
I'm
Uh,
just going to stop you. It says our video's paused. Maybe it's you, Jeannie. I'm not. Hi, Jeannie. By the way, I'm not sure because I know it's still playing here.
yeah,
There's somebody else watching, and you're seeing it's. Oh, she said it's back up. Okay. Yeah, face. Yeah, because of what we're talking about. So you might be careful of some of the
yeah.
terminology you're using there, Del.
Yeah, there's other things here. Slow or stop the infrastructure growth, right? And that's deals with this thing with bringing in green energies and that like a lot of this stuff is they're all great on paper and they all look great on there, but people don't understand the end means of what it is. Like I'll put this into perspective here for a lot of people is that when plastics came into existence and when they started using them in a wide amount of things there, we were using cans and glass for a lot of stuff, both things which were highly recyclable. Okay, plastics, it was just something that was light, durable, and it was super easy to produce, but the end was never ever thought about. And that's where we ended up having these big huge gyres out in the ocean, these whole bunch of these plastic dumps that are spinning around out in the oceans. I think there's like 13 of them, I think, like in all the different oceans around the world. And we never ever thought about this. Our landfills with plastic and that there was no afterthought about the production. And it's the same thing that going with a lot of these green energies. When you're talking about biomass fuels, when you're talking about production of solar panels, you're talking about wind turbines, and there's so much materials and specialized materials that need to be done. And when you're using stuff like solar, wind, and stuff where you're getting away from fossil fuels, you need battery packs. You need some place to store it. It just doesn't. You're not just running it all the time. It needs to build up. So the basics of it is that you get the power from the sun, the wind, the water, turns these little turbines, and you charge up a battery pack because you're not going to have that constantly going all the time. And so you have to have these huge battery packs that are around there, and they have to keep on storing up. So the stuff that makes up these batteries is highly toxic materials, and there's a lot of stuff that you have to deal with mining these things. And that's where I think a lot of these companies, because they're getting into this green energy, that's why you're seeing a lot of these other countries being exploited now for their mineral rates. And you got to figure the footprint for putting in solar power. putting in that. And like if you had that in the home, when we want to move people into these big mega cities or larger towns, you don't have the footprint of your own home. Like if you have everybody living upright in a building, how many solar panels do you think you can put on the top of a apartment building for 200 200 homes? There's just a lot of just stuff like that. You got to look at both the production of food. How are you going to go get rid of gasoline vehicles? Like here in Canada, they got rid of most of the rail lines and stuff like that. They have some of them that are going coast to coast, but I know the ones along the shoreline, they removed that one big line. That used to be a passenger line too as well. But it's just always this sort of this backwards thinking. There was a lot of stuff that was working really well, and then you get these social groups that come into things and they start changing it, thinking that they're doing things for the better under this guise of climate change, I guess you could say, or environmental impact. And they always say like this, what about the children? We got to think about our children's futures and stuff like that. Well, I don't think they're thinking about their children's futures now at the current time as it goes. We've become dependent on foreign import. We've here in Canada, we've given away a lot of stuff to other foreign nations and stuff like that with our gold, coal, our forestries and stuff like that. We don't produce a lot anymore. We don't manufacture anything. And we've said this before, is that you need to fix your house first before you go and fix the other one down the road. You figure like the abundance that should be here, that everybody should be living high off the hog, but it's not. It's only just the rich and elite and foreign companies that governments are here in our country here that have given away the stuff that was our national stuff for the people here in Canada. And you see that a lot in other countries, and you're seeing, I don't know, that this global initiative is getting pretty brutal. We have poor immigrant programs. You're getting more flood of immigrants coming into there. This taxation and inflation problems, like we talked about, potato 50 years ago was still the same potato today, but now it just cost you a lot of stuff. And it's just, hello everybody that's there in the chat there. Sorry, I just Jeannie Spencer there. Okay, sorry, I'm just all over the place here. Crippling existing problems for new Green Deal stuff, changing history, programs in education system. You're programming the youth into a different way of thinking so that when they come out, they keep on perpetuating this change that's going on. And it's not improving anything. It's under this whole hypnotism propaganda stuff that you're looking at the world, and you're not looking at it. You have to look small first before you look bigger. And there's a lot of things that could be done that I'm not saying, like I went to school for environmental engineering back in the 90s, and I sort of saw this stuff coming their way. The thinking was sort of changing to get everybody into this sort of free living off of power off of the wind and the air and the sun and stuff like that. Just a whole bunch of different things like that. Big problems there, and like with the changing of history, censorship. We can go on with that. Like here, like putting into here with the Canadian government's and the CRTC blocking information. Like it's really it's interesting to see. I just even noticed that there. I've noticed this many times, even on videos watching off of YouTube or even off of other channels, that it says blocked in your country. And that's why people use VPNs. But even now, some of the VPNs don't even work out of there. They're blocked internally. And that's sort of a really scary thing when you get government mandated that is blocking information that you should be able to access. That's the whole thing about learning things and learning from history and learning other people's information. So those are just a few there, Laura.
Yeah, I know. I think we're being throttled because Jeannie had to leave because, like I said, I think you got to be careful with the language you're using. I agree with everything you're saying. Sorry, I was trying to find, you're coming in really quiet too, so I'm trying to hear as best I can. I was trying to find a microphone clip to stick into my phone here, and that's not going to work. So I'll just have to try and listen as best as possible. But I think we have to be, given the fact that what we're talking about, this is happening, but how am I going to say this? I guess they're making sure every opportunity so that people don't hear about this. And this is what's so disturbing because what's going to happen is, I know, we keep hearing this hashtag or this phrase, you got to wake up. Well, what's going to happen is the world is going to wake up whether they want to or not. And when they do wake up, they're going to be like, how did this happen? And you know what's going to happen. People are going to say this, how did this happen? It's been happening. And then people that have been trying to tell you what's been happening, and we've seen so much fracture in society, like every single point you talked about, we have practically covered. We are almost at that point. I think we are, like, are we ready to bake the muffins basically and
Yep.
throw them in the oven?
Yep. That's exactly right. Like, I've just noticed like well, you've noticed a lot of change in your 50 plus years, and I've noticed a lot of change in my 50 plus years, and just how much government has not, I won't say interfered, but impacted into life, and taken away. You figure what was your freedoms, or just how you'd live in your country.
Well, people are accepting it. They keep thinking if we're just good little children and we listen to our parents, meaning those in power, that life is going to go back to normal. Well, I hate to tell you, folks, it's not going back to normal. And the other thing is that, and you were the one that brought this up to me many years ago, and you're right. Once something becomes law, it doesn't even have to become law. Once something becomes removed from society or a country, they don't return it. Believe me, the biggest shock to me years ago was when I found out that income tax was only supposed to be in place for a few months.
Well, it's a few years there. There was just
Well,
during,
what
yeah,
that basically in the whole span of thing, it's like 2 months still. And
yeah,
the thing is, now people go to jail when you don't pay your taxes. Things happen when you don't pay your taxes. So what I'm saying is, all this stuff we're losing right now, and people are going along with the narrative saying, well, if I do it, then I can travel. If I do it, then I can go to a movie. I can go out to dinner. What are you going to do if you keep saying yes and those things aren't going to be there? They're not. And I don't think people realize this. And again, I do this all day long. I do. I'm talking to people all over the world all day long, sharing stuff, doing whatever, and I feel like I'm banging my head against a wall. And there's still people trying. I give them so much credit for trying to still explain to people what's going on, and all they're getting is hatred, anger. Like, it's literally like people have blinders on. Like, they're over, like, for example, I'm going to give something very quickly. Over in Europe, and it's on YouTube. You can look. Look at what's going on over in Europe with the people. We are talking hundreds upon thousands of people in the streets. Are we seeing this here in North America? No, not at all. I don't know if they're more awake. I don't know what it is. But like you said, how do you take over, or how do you take over a civilization, we'll say in 10 years? I look what we've done in less than 2 years.
yep. That's true. And well, you can just look at all the different changes that have happened here in Canada. Basically, our national identity has been removed. It's I don't even think we're even like, it used to be. Canada was the home of the free, the strong and the brave, home of the free, or whatever it
Hmm.
was. Canada, our home and named land, true future love, and all our sons, good man. I can't remember. Geez, I don't even remember even. It's been so long since I've even heard the national anthem anymore.
Hmm.
Like, I don't know. It's just this big change that's sort of happening, and everybody. That's a part that JT Muppet there talks about, and that he keeps on talking about this change. We need change. We're all in this for the change. Well, if you don't change things, that stuff is working, and that's why this part that I don't think that a lot of these younger people, and even some of these older people that are sort of or even just any people that
There's people our age, there's lots
yeah,
of people our age that
they
laugh at us, that think we're the ultimate conspiracy theorists.
right.
And
Like, if you don't go and take a vehicle that travels 60 miles an hour and then it costs this much to produce and stuff like that, and then you change it with one that only runs for 4 hours, right, and cost 5 times the amount. Usually when you bring something in to take over something that's there, it's either at the exact equal or a little bit better. It's never that it's at less than what you're already at. And that's what a lot of these systems that are coming in is like, we have here in Canada, the mandate is that at the end of this year, 2021, there's 7 different types of plastics that have to be removed. That's imported and exported, and it comes to single-use plastics. So you're talking about water bottles, you're talking about plastic containers, talking about anything that's single-use plastics, plastic bags. There's a whole bunch of things, and if you go into a grocery store, about 80% of all the plastic that's in there that's right now is all single-use plastic, and it's not recyclable. So these are things that was never thought about when this stuff comes, all this these mandates come in. So what are you going to do that when it comes to the end of the year? So are you going to just stop bringing this stuff into the country? Like it's what do you do? Because other countries aren't doing the same thing. Nobody's thinking at this globally equally.
What about the businesses you're going to put out of business because you're forcing the production companies to have to go to a completely different system? Heck, I even remember the big ice cream licking scandal how many summers ago when kids were, teenagers or older, little older, were going in there and licking ice cream, containers of ice cream, slapping the lid back on. We were talking about that, you and I. So now they went with the safety seals. Think about that, folks. How much plastic is in your stuff? Bottles, anybody over-the-counter medications, those are all safety seals with plastics. Do you see where we're going with this? Like, and never mind, like, to me, how are you not going to put things out of business doing this? Because it's not like you're going to get a subsidy for switching over. It's a law. So yeah, if you want to put your product out there, so what does that mean, that we don't get any products? Like, even speaking about products, and I'm going to mention it, is I would highly advise you to take a look at what's going on with your food and where it comes from. I think you'll be very, very surprised if you get off of the regular mainstream channels, we'll say, and you do a little digging. I think you'll be very, 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 very shocked about what's been going on, and we're not hearing about it. And this is the problem people are saying is, well, if this was going on, we hear about it in the news. And I'll tell you, the people that structured this, that they did this, and they've had quite a few decades to work on this, they have thought of everything. Like I was working with someone closely, and somebody they have in their family doesn't believe anything's going on, and they're not on social media, and they only follow mainstream media news channels. How do you prove to somebody even that censorship is going on? Where are you going to see that? The other thing is, and it's been proven, depending, if you do some research, that depending on numbers, you can pick a number and apply it to what's going on right now for how many people have come down with what's been going on for the past 2 years. I guarantee you can find all kinds of reports with that number. You can pick any number you want. So what I'm trying to say is, what your narrative is what supports what you will find, depending on where you look. Like, I'll be very honest, and Dell's a smart guy. I'm not saying I'm unintelligent, but I remember walking in when this was all starting, and he was watching a certain news channel that's been known to put some untruths out there. And I walked in and said, "What are you watching this crap for?" And he said, "Laura, we need to be looking at everything. We need to know what everybody is saying out there. And then through our own research, you can make your own decisions," right?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's entirely true. That's why, this is the part what I wanted to get into. This other part, I'll talk about what these things later on, about what Canada is supposed to phase out there later. But the part about making your own decisions and getting information, because we have this was it Bill C-10 that was supposed to go through, or did go through, and that's about regulating what you can and can't say in and out of Canada, and who you talk about and stuff like that around the world. Anything that deals with the government. Basically, what that is just JT Muppet. They're trying to quell information, and this is the part that I was going to say about when I mentioned VPNs earlier, and just noticing on just on YouTube is looking at content, and I wanted to, something that I had on there before, and it says this is blocked in your country. And if people know all about China, that China censors its internet too as well, that the people of that country can only get government approved information, and they're monitored and spied on. And we'll talk about this also too, about the Five Eyes and about what happened in New Zealand with a .com, Mr. .com there or whatever. And I watched that documentary the other day, and that was about that mega uploads, a whole debacle that went on over there. But just the whole part about governments deciding on what you can and can't read, or what you can and can't see. I'm totally against the whole child pornography thing and stuff like that and all that. That's all wrong, and about dealing with bombs and stuff like that, and all these terrorist organizations, whether they're foreign or domestic, like that stuff there. Yeah, that should be looked at. And but quelling all information, you should be able to find out information about these things so that you're aware about other information that might be associated with it. When you stop information and people researching things and looking at things, you do a big disservice in the history of our planet, anyways, and just in history period. And that gets into this big problem is that we're seeing. I think we're seeing today is that this has been going on for about 40 years, 50 years, probably even back before the end of the World War II, when they started dictating what you can and can't learn in school, changing history. This is what the history is, and then you're finding out that history is a lot different than what you've been told. Like that's a big thing, and we're doing it now. We're changing, rewriting history, rewriting shows. We're blocking information because of words. People are more scared of words than they're scared of action. People are more worried about their
Well, I don't
feelings.
know if people are, well, some words, but I don't know if you're scared of words. But like when you do what you and I do, we would hope, especially with the amount of work like you put into the show tonight, that people are able to learn something or watch or listen objectively or have a discussion. But you have to play by the rules, because if you don't, people don't get to see what you're putting out there. And we're not doing it to be seen. You're doing it to share information. So you do have to play by some of the rules, whether you want to or not.
Yeah, well, you're seeing this. This is another change of information, or change away as society has sort of gone. And this is all tactics of the OSF, and you can go right onto their site there, and it talks all about.
You might have to remind people what the OSF is, Del, because not everybody knows that's watching necessarily.
The Open Society Foundation, if anybody's watching stuff like that. Foundation work to build vibrant and inclusive democracies whose governments are accountable to their citizens. That's what their mainstay is. That's what, this is right off of their site here, opensocietyfoundations.org. And what we do, it says the Open Society Foundations are active in more than 120 countries around the world. Our national and regional foundations and thematic programs give thousands of grants every year towards building inclusive and vibrant democracies. Now, there's that word again, inclusive. Okay? Mm-hmm. So they deal with a democratic practice, higher education, early childhood and education, human rights movements and institutions, economic equality, economic equity and justice, information and digital rights, equality and anti-discrimination, journalism, health and rights, and justice reform, and the rule of law. So basically, they want to rewrite how a country runs, right? And that's basically what a lot of these people, you can see it here in Canada, and you can see it in the States as well. And they fund people to get them into power and places of positions, right? And then that changes the change in government, which causes the stuff that you're seeing over the past sort of 40 years, right? Where you're seeing these more changes the way you live the way you act. You don't act the same way. You can't do the same things you used to do. Now a lot of things that you used to do, yeah, some of them were bad, and then yeah, they shouldn't be there. But a lot of stuff was good, and that's the thing. That's what I'm sort of getting at. Like when government starts interfering, and or private companies or private, they call themselves philanthropists, they call themselves foundations and stuff like that, that they're there to help. Like they're not there to help. They're there to help the person who's at top. So the person who is the philanthropist for the OSF, Open Society Foundation, is George Soros. Now George Soros has been linked to many different things. With he wants more money, and he wants to take over as much as he wants, right? He wants sort of this global control. So you have to look at how things have changed, and it's just it and look at who's in there. You have to do more background searches on people before you vote these people into power and stuff like that. It, they there's a lot of this talk with this education stuff where people have gone, oh, they want this great utopia, but utopia is not a great place to be. So you want to be that you're there, that the government gives you your little muffin every day, and you're dependent on them. It's almost going back to that one show I did about Soylent Green, like right.
Well, I think what's important too is, and we've never been taught to do this, is to, when something's going on, regardless of what it is, and if it's especially big, even if it is making the news, is to start looking at who's funding this, because everything on this planet costs money, everything. And when you start going up the chain, you'll hear that too. If you just are newly awake and you keep hearing, follow the money. When you follow the money, you start finding out, and I'm going to tell you right now, when you start getting to the very top, it's always the same players and same names. But one thing I did want to mention, though, why I brought that up, and I told you this the other day, there is a Canadian company by the name, hang on, Acuitas, Acuitas Therapeutics. It's a Canadian scientific company responsible for the hydrogel that is in the, we'll say, jabs. Guess who one of the major shareholders is? Mr. JT and the Sunshine Band, basically. So if you don't know who we're referring to, it's the PM, we'll say, of Canada. We won't use his name. Now, again, how many people know that? First of all, it's illegal. It's also a conflict of interest when you're the leader of a country and you're making the mandates that you're making, but you're set to gain all kinds of money from every jab, we'll say, that you give out there. This is when you start seeing these things. But like I said, people aren't putting all of this together. That's the problem, right? Because it's happened, even with what's happened here, because of the fear. And there's so many people that believe the fear. And again, I don't think I can really fault them, because, unless you have a little bit of medical training, how do you sort out maybe what's true, what's not, or so on and so forth, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then there's just so much things that are going on. Like we talked about. Well, this is a part that we mentioned there when the Suez Canal got blocked off by that super tanker with all the goods there. That was blocked off for whatever it was, 5 to 7 days, I think it was there. And they were talking about the billions and billions of dollars per day that was costing, with all the rest of the ships that were stopped from going around there. And we talked about this, and I'd mentioned this, is that one, every day that's there is going to probably end up being about 3 months of shortages it'll just escalate. It just escalates. And this was on, I think it was, they were talking about this on, was it RT or Fox, or was one of the other ones there, Newsmax or something like that. And they're talking about this now, is that you got Christmas coming up. They're talking about shortages, supply chains there that is shorted, right? Countries have become so dependent on imports of certain goods they cannot proceed. They don't make anything in-house anymore. So this part comes from this country, this part comes from that country, this part comes from here. Nothing's really made in, say, made in the USA or made in Canada. Very few products that for the mass amount of it is, right? So when that supply stop happened there, and that stopped about 45% of the world's supply chain for 7 days. They're looking at it there that is going to impact and back up stuff for probably about 2 to 3 years. So now you have this huge problem now with manufacturing, that it's slowed down. You can't get your goods out anymore. Like this escalated and snowballed down the hill so hugely. Nobody was really thinking about it. I was thinking about it as soon as this happened. I was like, wow, this is going to be a big, huge problem. Now they're showing parts on the news there of shortages to food supplies and stuff like that, because stuff that was there to get food or to send food out or to get the nutrients that were needed for farming or for doing this, all that stuff was quelled, and some stuff spoiled, never got out. So then there's a huge rush to get things in, but now you have a backlog of problems. You see how this stuff sort of escalates and piles on top.
We've got Love in Life Lisa. She says hi, and she says, I have a question for, I think, me. She says Lori, but it's Lorilei, but I know it's hard to spell. So go ahead, Lisa. We'll keep talking. When you got your question, we'll answer it for you. So go ahead, Del. Sorry about that.
Yeah. So that one little incident that happened, you're gonna see the effects coming up this winter time here. And that's usually now they put the big squeeze on, because people want to worry about Christmas time, right? That's supposed to be the big, huge holiday. And now they're talking about more shutdowns and more stuff like that, and maybe canceling Christmas, which would be sort of a surprising thing to do, right? They're even talking about now is that parents should be going out and buying their Christmas gifts now, because there probably won't be anything around come December time, because of the supply chain stuff that's been going on.
I don't think we'll answer that question for you, Lisa. Okay, thank you. I think we'll help you remove yourself. Hey, Zachman, nice to see you here. No, we're going to ban this person here because they don't need to be in here. So I don't know. We'll just ignore them for now. Go ahead. Sorry, Del.
Yeah, so that's where it goes. So you're going to see this big, huge problem with supply chain, and that's the part. And this is what comes into what I was talking about before, is that government, especially here in Canada, is basically has given away almost most of everything here and brought in foreign stuff and given it all away. We don't really produce anything here in house that makes it sustainable. And there, I'll use the word sustainable. It's this whole part of that's going on here, and this is a part that was in one of the other part there is about removing nationalities and making it a global environment, right? A one world government. So this is what we're sort of looking about heading towards. And this is these little slow little hey there, Zach. These are these little slow boiling the frog, these little temperatures that are coming up here that are coming on. Like you must have noticed these, eh, Laura?
Yeah, I do. Yeah. So sorry, I was reading this comment here, trying to figure out how to remove this person, but I'm going to ignore them. So sorry.
Yeah.
I didn't. What was the point? Oh, sorry, you'll have to repeat the question. I'm having a hard time hearing too, guys. I'm sorry. Ever since I've updated my phone, and it's I don't know why, but for some reason now the volume's really quiet. Can you repeat the question that you were talking about? Sorry.
No.
Sorry. Not the whole thing.
It was too long.
Yeah, can you repeat the last 10 minutes, please?
No.
Hey, Zach.
No, just saying is that when the part that happened here that I put into that I see that happened in Canada is that we gave away everything and we don't produce in-house anymore.
Absolutely. Absolutely agree with you 100%. And then the other thing is too, because of where we are geographically, that a lot of stuff we have to import, like where we live. And you made a good point on one of the shows. Most Canadians are within 100 miles of an American border, but it's we don't have a very long growing season here. So when we need vegetables and fruits and stuff in the middle of winter, and no, we don't live in the Arctic. We actually live right smack dab almost in the middle of Canada, and sort of much close. We're 35 minutes from the Minnesota border, but we got to import a lot of stuff. So Canada has to do that. Mind you, I was talking to somebody that's a good friend of mine over in Sardinia, Italy, and I didn't realize this. They import a lot of our wheat. I didn't know that.
Yeah, well, that was the part, is that we produced a lot here. Like, we used to see, growing up, I remember being here in the 80s, and all the grain elevators were running. The we had the pulp and paper mills running all in
Mm-hmm.
here. We were producing lots of stuff. We were also what else we had? We were basically, we were the main hub, because we're right on Lake Superior at the start of the Great Lakes, going out, and everything from the west. So it came in all within trains. A lot of stuff all came to here. Ships came in, salties and ocean goers, and Great Lakes freighters, and everything just left from here. So going out towards the east, and then I don't even know how many grain elevators are running right now. I think maybe one. I think we had at one time. I think we had like 12 of them here running or something like that. I think only one or two. I think Patterson's and one other one's running. But yeah, and it was a busy place. Like, there was Port Arthur, right? Fort William, Port Arthur back then, right? It was the main part to get
I
down.
think Zach's got a good point, though, too. He's saying I was born a human being, but I'm an American as well. Nationalities are an important part of our identities as individuals.
Hmm.
I think they are, Zach. I think I have to agree with you. But you got to remember, too, like you said, we're human beings. And I think that that's so important to remember right now because, yes, it's important that you're American or that we're Canadian. But, I think we need to unite as the human race right now. That, I know most countries are very, very proud of their heritage or their nationality. But I'm going to go back to something very quickly. My youngest son couldn't understand when he was much younger. He's got autism, as you know, Zach, but trying to explain to him that there's no difference between human beings. And it was a really cool meme. It had a bunch, five little skeletons all sitting across from each other, all sitting in a row. And it had a label underneath with a religious, say Christian or American or what have you. And the way I explained this to him was because the skeletons all look the same if you cover up the name. They do, right? But basically, we all just have a different wrapping paper, if you will, on the outside. And that's what I explained to him was, say at Christmas, if all the paper, all the presents underneath the tree were just wrapped in this very boring brown paper, for example. It's not very exciting. Yeah, there's presents there, but when they're all wrapped beautifully and they're in different wrapping paper or however people like to do their presents, right? And how I explained it to him was that's kind of like getting to know people. They may have different wrapping paper. We're all the same physically on the inside, but getting to know them. But my whole point is, yes, that's what makes us unique and individual. But right now, with what was going on in the world, I think it's so important that we need to really focus on that human race and that we're all a part of each other. I don't know, is that, or Del, what do you think?
Yeah, that's a good point there. But I think
Mm-hmm.
the part there is that when you have a country, this is, see, getting rid of countries. This is part of
Mm-hmm.
this goal towards 2030 and is to remove borders, remove countries to make them all the same. That's never ever going to happen. Like a one world government where there is no more borders, right? There's a whole
That
part.
is a bad idea, though, because of who's in power. I mean, at least you've got different countries, like, and again, then you get back to nationalities and different countries and what each country is known for and the uniqueness of it all. Plus, they're self-governing, and whoever thinks it's a great idea to turn it into one nation and one government, that's a recipe for disaster, as far as I'm concerned.
Right, and then there'd be no equalization out of that, anyways, because of the way the
Mhm.
world's worked already. With with this country owes this country owes this. Like this is the part that I don't understand. Like Canada has become they want to become multicultural, this big melting pot of all these cultures that come here, but that's not the reason Canada was Canada in the first place. Canada was what Canada was. It was French and English with a lot. There was immigrant areas that were around that came in that built this country, fought in the wars and stuff like that. That made this country great and great to be in. But then we opened the floodgates, and it's like I'm not against immigration, but there's a point to it. There is when you go to some other country, you go there and you're going there because you like the way that it is. You're not going there to change it into the country you just left. Why are you changing it into the country you just left? Stay in the country that you are if you like that way that it was. That's the thing. And when you're taking over stuff, like when you go on vacation, you go down to Jamaica or you go to Fiji and stuff like that. You don't go down there to go and change and says, "Hey, I want to be like the U.S. when I'm here, or I want to be like
Or
Canada
how
when
about
I'm here."
let's use Saudi Arabia with the like in that area of the world, when you go there, say especially as a woman,
Mm-hmm.
you can't walk in there and say I'm a Canadian or I'm an American, so I don't have to cover my head and I can wear a bikini on the beach and I can, no, you when in Rome you do as the Romans do, basically. Sorry, but there's a reason why there's that saying.
Right. So what the reason I'm just saying out of that whole part is that when you go visit places, you go visit other countries because you want to learn about their culture, and that you're not going there to change their culture. And that's the big thing. Like in here in Canada, we've accepted to allow it to change everything. And
Mhm.
that's the progression I've seen go through. And I was like, I was wondering that. I had even this is a funny part there here in Thunder Bay, and I was watching a bunch of documentaries here about Thunder Bay, and out of about 7 out of 10 of them, they were all talking about this big Finnish community that was here. And I knew there was Finlanders that were here. I knew about Lappi. I knew about the Hoito Bay Street and stuff like that. That was just a little small little area. Like even where we are over here, there's a little Suomi old
Koti,
folks old
Suomi
folks home
Koti.
that's
It's a
over here.
nursing home or not nursing home. It's a seniors apartment building. I
Yeah,
used to have that as a community nurse visiting. Hmm.
but the thing was is that when I was going to school and that, I barely even knew that there was this Finn culture that was here that was so big. But all these documentaries that I watched, it was like made it sound like Thunder Bay was 90%
Finish.
Finnish, and I was like,
Mhm.
wow. I said that's so that didn't make any sense to me at all because that they were like not even a thought in my mind for anything that was here because well, I grew up in Fort William, but it was Fort William Port Arthur side or whatever. But I had no idea, and as just I didn't think that the way that they framed it there, like if anybody would have watched these documentaries, would have thought that you were coming to Little Finland.
And yet we have the most incredible. We've got the Sleeping Giant and Kakabeka Falls, which is the referred to as the Little Niagara of the North. And then that's a beautiful, beautiful story and what's behind that. And it focuses on the indigenous people that were here before anybody. We got about 3 minutes. Zach, you and your sense of humor, I love it, but actually it's true. Your comment. Our countries are all united in that our debt is owed by China. Or and it's true. Or owned. Hmm.
Yeah, but yeah, that's just I don't know. I if all I'm just gonna say if you're listening out there is if you check out whatever this A230 is, and that was been put out. There's 17 parts to it. Check it out, and you'll
Well, there was a video. It's been removed, but there was a video up for the longest time. We could spell it for you, Agenda 2030. This is what we were talking about. I know you joined a little bit late, Zach, but that's what Dell was going over and referring to, and basically how it happens, right, Dell?
yeah. So if you go and take a look at it there, and then look at how your government, how things are changing in your area, look outside your bubble a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
and just you'll see you can start checking off things where, and it deals with education in the schools. It deals with forçation mandates. It deals with a lot of different things, and it's just it's just scary. It's about dealing with energy, and it's dealing about stuff like that. Like even in the States, they were energy independent almost. They weren't owing anything, and this new government that's come in, you, you're looking at a fall. Like Canada is very connected to the U.S., and a lot of people
Oh
say
yeah.
they said, oh, a lot of people say, no, 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 we're not. We're independent to them. No, actually, we rely on the U.S. for a lot of things.
Oh darn right we do.
And if that country starts falling apart, we'll be falling apart there pretty quickly as well. Anyways, we're coming close to the end there. Lori, want to tell them about you and your show and where they can find
Yeah, you guys, I am the host on this network, United Public Radio Network, for the Angel Rock, which is Monday nights from 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. excuse me, Eastern, or 8 p.m. to 10 Central. This Monday night, I have a guest that is a favorite of the Dell and I's. He met her through me. I always joke and say that Dell jacks all my interesting guests. He does. I'm going to have Marla Ventura on, and she is an author. She has written many books about mermaids, werewolves, vampires, the strange and unusual, the paranormal. So we are going to have a Halloween show that night. So come on, show up. Let's have some fun. She's so knowledgeable, and she's such a joy to listen to. Believe me, it'll fly by. So I hope you guys will join me. Very quickly, if you want to reach out to me, you can find me on facebook.com/The Angel Rock. And thanks for having me, Del.
Yeah, you bet. And guys can always check me out here Thursdays at 7 p.m. This is we'll look into a little bit more about what's going on here in our country, and maybe get into some more of this stuff that I'm looking at about these cryptids that are on the bush. So if you guys have any stories about weird goings on in the bush, paranormal, Sasquatch, Bigfoots, little people, and stuff like that, you can send your personal stories to the delicious stories at gmail.com. And when I get enough of them there, I'll do a show about reading some of these stories. I'll keep it all anonymous so your name's not out there if you don't want to be known and stuff like that.
The one thing I will remind you guys, if you got nothing to do, I was going to say Christmas Eve, Halloween night, Dell and I are going to working on putting on a Halloween party for United Public Radio Network. Not quite sure what time yet. Our wonderful Joe Montaldo, who's the owner of the network, is in LA. He's there for the People's Choice Awards for podcasts. Science and Beyond, one of our shows, was nominated. So good luck with that, Joe. You're looking good. We've been seeing your pictures. Hope you're having a great time. But stay tuned for that. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to be dressed up. We're looking for scary stories. You got any EVPs, any video clips, feel free to send them to us. We'd love to play them during the show for you. And with that, Del, thanks again for having me.
You bet. Okay, take care, guys, out there in the world.
Have a good one.